we work with most, mission-driven organizations, and a lot of times I've noticed in these organizations there is a culture of conflict avoidance that is present.
Mhm.
And because they're doing good work and want to do good in the world, and I love these folks who are part of, who are again, who decided to do work that is about, again, making a better world. But oftentimes that conflict avoidance turns into a lot of passive aggressiveness. It turns into like everything's fine. And so they're like gaslighting themselves, each other, right? So that's what's really present. And you also reminded me of one organization we worked in with. And also, I love all the orgs we work with. So when I'm naming the tensions, there are also other beautiful things that are happening to make sure to
Mhm.
name them as well. But I just, to your point,
Yeah.
we had an organization where when we met during the first kind of phase with them and kind of cut the stories, there were a lot of folks who said, things are great. I love this work. I love being here. I love the people I work with. Great. We love to hear
Mhm.
that, right? Two things happened. One is we started to ask more specific questions about whether folks were taking care of themselves. And from those conversations, we started to, more was uncovered about how folks were overworking themselves through their love. They love the org, they love each other, but they were overworking themselves to the point where we had folks in tears, communicating how tired they are.
Mhm.
We also discovered through our data, because one thing that we do with our any like surveys or any kind of numerical data that we're collecting from folks, we make sure that it is organized by subgroups. So we don't want to hear what everyone is saying, because in this organization I'm talking about, if you looked at collectively their data and some responses to questions that we had, things seem to be going fairly well. It's pretty positive. But when we broke it down by role, rank, tenure, when we broke it down by, gender, race, etc., it starts to tell very different stories for different subgroups.
Mhm.
So, for instance, in this organization, one of the things that we discovered was that folks with less power, hierarchy, were less happy, let's say, significantly less happy than those who had more hierarchical power within the organization. So, I think it's a reminder for folks too that sometimes the conversations you're having, you need to know what specific groups are saying to know the full story, the full narrative. I always say there are 4 layers of data or 4 pieces of data to the full data puzzle. And that is numbers, which we know, stories, which we're familiar with, also historical data, which is the history of the organization. And then I also add ancestral data, which is the data that we bring as individuals, like what
Mhm.
stories we bring with us, what is in our ancestry that also is relevant when we are coming together with others with different ancestral data in this space.
Mhm. That sounds